My ex-fiancée Laura dumped me out of nowhere, and honestly, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell happened. I thought everything was good between us. Yeah, we had our ups and downs, but who doesn't, right? We'd been together for 4 years, we were planning to get married, and then boom. Well, not that word, but you get me. She tells me we need to break up, and her reason? My job. Yeah, you read that right. My damn job at my family's restaurant. Now I get it. My hours are kind of weird. I work evenings, and by the time I'm home, she's already been off work for like 3 or 4 hours. But this isn't news. She's known this since day one. Before we even got engaged, she knew my schedule was all over the place. I work late shifts on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 4:30 to 9 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays are a little later, but it's not like I'm never around. We had Sundays, some mornings, and even most of Saturdays before my shift started. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But Laura? Nah. She starts talking about how we barely see each other, and that I need to find a new job because she's tired of waiting around for me to get home every night. She works from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., so she gets off way earlier than me, and I guess she didn't like having to fill that time alone. I mean, it sucks, sure, but I always thought we were making it work. I even offered for her to work with me at the restaurant. I thought it was a pretty solid idea. We could spend more time together, she wouldn't be bored waiting around, and we'd save up more money for the wedding. But nope, she shot that down quick, said she didn't feel comfortable working for my parents. Okay, cool, fine, whatever. I respected that. I didn't push it because I didn't want her to feel awkward or anything. But then she kept bringing up my job every few weeks. It was like, when are you going to find something better? Or I just don't see how this is sustainable. It started to get on my nerves because, like, how many times do I have to say I'm happy where I'm at? I love working for my family. The restaurant's been in the family for years. And yeah, the hours are long sometimes, but it's worth it. So one night, she just sat me down and was like, Ethan, I can't do this anymore. I thought she was kidding at first, but nope, she was dead serious. She told me that if I wasn't going to change jobs, she couldn't see how we could ever get married. It totally blindsided me. I tried to tell her that we could figure it out, like maybe there's a way to balance things better, but she wasn't having any of it. She said she needed more from me, more time, more effort, more commitment to our future, whatever that means. I told her I was committed. I mean, we were literally planning a wedding, so how much more committed can you get? What really stung is that she said she felt like I didn't care enough about her needs. Like, excuse me? I've been busting my ass working late shifts so we could save up for our future. It's not like I'm out partying or ignoring her. I'm working for us. I thought that would count for something, but apparently not. Then she dropped the whole, maybe we should just be friends thing, and man, that was a gut punch. We weren't even in an argument. There was no yelling, no big fight. It was just her sitting there calmly, like she'd been rehearsing this conversation in her head for weeks. I asked her straight up, are you serious? You want to throw all this away because of my job? And she had the nerve to say, it's not just your job. It's the fact that you don't seem willing to change for us. That's when I got pissed. I reminded her that she knew about my schedule before we even got engaged. If it was such a problem for her, why the hell did she agree to marry me in the first place? She got all defensive and said that she thought over time I'd grow out of it and find something else. Like what? Since when is working hard at a family business something you need to grow out of? I'm not gonna lie, I felt betrayed. She basically admitted that she was waiting for me to become some different version of myself, and when that didn't happen, she was out. After that conversation, I just avoided her. I couldn't even look at her. I stayed late at work every night because the last thing I wanted to do was come home and sit in the same house with someone who didn't want to be with me anymore. But here's the thing. She didn't leave. Like I thought after you break up with someone, especially when you're engaged, you'd start looking for somewhere else to stay, right? Nope. She kept acting like nothing had changed, like we were just roommates now or something. Every time I came home, she was there, chilling on the couch, watching TV like everything was fine. It made me feel sick, honestly. How could she break up with me and still live under my roof like nothing happened? So one night I finally told her, Laura, you need to move out. We're not together anymore and this isn't working for me. And get this. She looked at me like I had two heads. She was like, are you serious? You're kicking me out? I told her, yeah, I am. We're not getting married anymore, so what's the point of living together? She tried to guilt trip me, saying she had nowhere to go and that I was being heartless for making her leave. At that point, I was just done. I told her she could stay with her parents until she figured things out. And then, to top it all off, I asked for the ring back. You'd think I just slapped her or something. She freaked out, saying I gave it to her and that I couldn't just ask for it back. I told her straight up, that ring was for our wedding, and since we're not getting married, I want it back. She called me greedy, said I could afford another one if I really loved her, and that I was being an ass for trying to kick her out after all we've been through. At that point, I couldn't even argue anymore. I just wanted her gone. So after I told Laura she needed to move out, things got real awkward real fast. I mean, you'd think she would have just packed her bags and left, right? But nope. She stuck around like she was waiting for something. At first, I thought she was just dragging her feet, trying to figure out where to go. I mean, it's not like she didn't have options. Her parents lived nearby, and she's got friends she could crash with. But instead, she just stayed, and I gotta tell you, those few days after the breakup were the most uncomfortable days of my life. And then it got worse. One day, I come home, and Laura is sitting at the kitchen table with my mom. Yeah, you read that right, my mom. Apparently, she had called my mom over without even telling me. So I walk in, and they're sitting there having coffee like everything's totally normal. I was so confused. My mom looks at me and goes, "Ethan, we need to talk." I was annoyed at that point, but I tried to keep calm. I mean, it's my mom, right? I sat down, and Laura started telling her side of the story, saying she didn't have anywhere to go, and how it was unfair that I was asking her to move out so soon after the breakup. And then my mom, bless her heart, started suggesting that maybe we should work something out, that Laura could stay for a bit longer while she figured things out. I couldn't believe it. Like, what? I just stared at them for a second before saying, "Mom, we're not together anymore. Why would I let her stay here?" My mom, always the peacekeeper, goes, "Well, she needs time to figure things out. It's not easy to just up and move, you know?" I tried to stay calm, but I was fuming inside. I mean, yeah, it's not easy, but we broke up. We're not a couple anymore, so why should I have to put up with this? I looked at Laura and said, "You've had time. It's been almost a week. You need to leave." And then, of course, Laura got all emotional, saying she thought I was better than this, that she never expected me to just toss her out like trash. She even started tearing up in front of my mom, and I swear, it was like she was trying to make me look like the bad guy. At this point, my mom started trying to smooth things over, saying, "Ethan, maybe you could give her a little more time. You two were together for so long. It's not easy to just end things like this." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mom was taking Laura's side. I love my mom, but this was not her call to make. I told her straight up, "Mom, this isn't your business. Laura and I are done. She needs to go." And that's when Laura pulled the ultimate guilt trip. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't be doing this. I thought you cared about me." Man, that hit me hard. I didn't want to be the bad guy here, but at the same time, how long was I supposed to let this drag on? She's the one who ended things, not me, and now she's trying to flip it like I'm the one being unreasonable. I stood my ground, though. I told her I do care, but we're not together anymore, and this isn't her home. She needs to move on. Laura stormed out of the room, and my mom just sat there looking all disappointed, like I was the one who messed everything up. She gave me this look and said, "I just hope you're doing the right thing." That messed with me for a while. Was I being too harsh? Should I have given her more time? But then I thought about how she'd been dragging this out, trying to stay in the house, making me feel uncomfortable in my own place, and I knew I wasn't in the wrong. This was my house, my space, and she was just trying to manipulate the situation to make herself the victim. The next day I came home, and Laura was gone. Her stuff was still there, but she wasn't home. At first, I felt this huge relief, thinking maybe she finally decided to move out. But nope, it was just another game. She came back late that night, acting all nonchalant like nothing happened. She didn't say a word to me, just went straight to the bedroom and shut the door. At this point, I was done. I couldn't deal with this anymore. I texted her, telling her she had until the end of the week to get her stuff out and leave, or I was going to start the eviction process. I know it sounds harsh, but what else was I supposed to do? She wasn't taking me seriously, and I wasn't about to spend another week living in this weird, messed up situation. And get this. She texts back, "I can't believe you're being like this. I thought we could at least be friends, but you're treating me like I'm some stranger." That's when I realized she was never going to leave unless I forced her to. She was playing this whole thing like a game, trying to get me to cave, maybe hoping I'd apologize or something and beg her to stay. But I wasn't about to do that. Not after everything she'd put me through. By the end of the week, Laura finally started packing her stuff. It was like this big dramatic scene. Every time she moved a box, she'd huff and puff, making a show of it like she wanted me to feel sorry for her. But I didn't. I mean, I felt bad that things ended the way they did, but I wasn't about to let her stay just because she didn't feel like moving. And then came the ring. The damn ring. I thought we were done with that conversation. But nope. She tried to pull it again, saying, "I can't believe you're actually asking for the ring back. You know I cared about you." I didn't even argue this time. I just told her, "We're not getting married. The ring was for the wedding. No wedding, no ring." She gave me this look like I was the biggest jerk on the planet, but she finally gave it back. And honestly, when she handed it over, I felt this huge weight lift off my shoulders. It was like the final chapter of our relationship was closing, and I could finally move on. Now it's been a few days since she left, and honestly, I feel better than I have in months. It's weird not having her around, but it's also kind of freeing. I don't have to walk on eggshells in my own house, and I don't have to deal with her trying to guilt trip me every 5 seconds. Do I miss her? Yeah, a little. but not enough to go back to that mess. Sometimes things just need to end, and dragging them out only makes it worse. Update 1. So after Laura finally moved out, I thought things would settle down, right? Like we're done, she's gone, I can finally get back to normal. But man, I was wrong. Things got weird real fast. First off, I didn't even realize how much stuff she had left behind. It was like every room in the house had some random item of hers. I'm talking about clothes, books, even her toothbrush was still in the bathroom. I wasn't going to touch it at first, but then a couple of days went by and I was like, okay, this is getting ridiculous. So I started packing up her things and putting them in boxes. Figured I'd drop them off at her parents' house or something and be done with it. But then, while I was going through her stuff, I found something that threw me off. I don't even know how to explain it, but I found this notebook she had hidden in one of her drawers. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who snoops through people's stuff, but I mean, she left it here, right? So I opened it, and it was like this whole diary of complaints about me and our relationship. Stuff like, Ethan never listens to me. He doesn't care about my feelings. Why can't he just get a normal job like other guys? It was like reading a list of everything she hated about me, and I got to be honest, it messed with my head. I know relationships aren't perfect, but seeing all of that written out, page after page, was rough. I had no idea she felt that way. I thought we had our issues, but I didn't think it was that bad. And the worst part? She wrote about how she'd been thinking about breaking up with me for months, but was just waiting for the right time. Like, what does that even mean? The right time to end someone's life plans? I couldn't believe she was sticking around, pretending everything was fine, when in reality, she was already halfway out the door. So after reading all that, I just felt this weird combination of anger and sadness. Like, I knew the relationship was over, but finding that notebook made it so much more real. It wasn't just a breakup because of work schedules. It was like she had been mentally checked out for a long time, and I didn't even see it. I sat there for a while, just staring at the pages, trying to figure out if I missed something or if I'd been completely blind this whole time. And then it hit me. She never really wanted to marry me. She just wanted me to be someone I wasn't. She wanted me to quit my job, change my life, and become this ideal version of myself that didn't exist. No wonder she broke up with me. I could never live up to what she wanted. I put the notebook away and tried to distract myself, but it kept eating at me. I couldn't stop thinking about everything she wrote. It was like this nagging voice in the back of my head reminding me that maybe I wasn't good enough. That's the thing about breakups. They make you question everything. You start overanalyzing every conversation, every argument, every time you said, "I love you," and wonder if any of it meant what you thought it did. A few days later, Laura texted me. I hadn't heard from her since she moved out, and honestly, I wasn't expecting to. But her text wasn't what I thought it would be. She didn't want to check in or talk about the breakup. Nope, she wanted to come by and pick up a few things. Like, okay, you've already been gone for over a week, and now you want to come back and get your stuff? I agreed, but I told her to give me a heads up before she came over. I didn't want any surprises. The last thing I needed was to walk in and find her there without warning. So she came over, and it was as awkward as you'd imagine. She barely looked at me when she walked in, just went straight to grabbing her stuff like she couldn't wait to get out of there. I was standing in the living room trying to act normal, but the whole situation felt so off. Like, we'd shared this life together, we'd been planning a wedding, and now it was like she was just a stranger coming to collect her things. But then something weird happened. As she was grabbing her stuff, she stopped and looked at me. For the first time in days, we actually made eye contact, and she just stood there like she wanted to say something but couldn't get the words out. I don't know why, but I felt like I had to say something. So I asked, "Is everything okay?" And then she said something I'll never forget. She goes, "I didn't want it to end like this." I didn't know how to respond. What was I supposed to say? We were already here. It was already over. I just stood there, not knowing what to say, and she looked at me like she was waiting for me to fix everything. But I couldn't. How was I supposed to fix something that had been broken for months, maybe even years, and I didn't even realize it? She grabbed the last of her stuff and left without saying another word. The door closed, and just like that, she was gone again. It was this weird mix of relief and sadness, like I was glad the whole mess was finally over, but at the same time, it felt like this huge chapter of my life had closed, and I wasn't ready for it. After she left, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called up a therapist. I know, it sounds dramatic, but I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe there was something wrong with me. Maybe I missed something huge in our relationship, or maybe I just wasn't cut out for this whole long-term commitment thing. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I figured talking to someone outside of the situation might help. Turns out, talking to someone who doesn't know you or your ex is actually pretty helpful. The therapist didn't give me all the answers or anything, but she made me realize that I wasn't the only one to blame for what happened. Relationships are two-sided, and as much as I messed up in some areas, Laura had her part in it too. I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't the villain in this story either. One thing that really stuck with me from those sessions was the idea that sometimes people fall in love with the idea of someone, not who they really are. And looking back, I think that's what Laura did with me. She wanted me to be this version of myself that didn't exist, and when I didn't become that person, she started to check out. So here I am, a couple of months later, feeling better. Not great, but better. I still think about her sometimes, and yeah, I wonder what could have been different. But I also know that if she stayed, things probably would have gotten worse. We weren't right for each other, and that's just the truth. I guess the takeaway is, sometimes things end for a reason. It sucks and it hurts, but in the long run, it's better than forcing something that's never going to work. After Laura left for good, I thought that was it. End of the story, right? Well, turns out things weren't as done as I thought they were. I didn't realize just how many loose ends there were until I started getting messages from mutual friends. Yeah, it's one of those situations. It started off slow. I'd get a text here and there from people asking how I was doing, which was fine. But then they'd drop these little comments like, Laura said she's really struggling, or have you heard from her? At first, I just brushed it off. I figured people were just being polite, trying to feel out where we were at after the breakup. But then the tone of the messages started to change. People were acting like I was the one who kicked her to the curb with no warning. And I'm sitting here like, did Laura not tell people she's the one who broke up with me? Apparently not. Next thing I know, I'm getting these long, guilt-trippy messages from some of her friends, people I barely even know, telling me that I was heartless for making her move out and asking for the ring back. Like, excuse me? She broke up with me. I wasn't about to keep living with my ex-fiancée, pretending everything's fine, while she's out there telling people I'm the bad guy. But according to her, I'm the one who didn't care enough to work things out. So now I'm stuck in this weird situation where people are seeing me as the villain of the story, and she's playing the victim. It's honestly mind-blowing how fast things can get flipped around. I had to start explaining to people what actually happened, and every time I did, it just felt exhausting. Like, why do I even have to defend myself? A week or two goes by, and I think things are finally dying down. I stop getting the messages, stop hearing from people about Laura, and I start to relax. But of course, that doesn't last long. One night, I'm sitting at home watching TV, trying to unwind after a long shift at the restaurant, and my phone buzzes. It's a text from Laura's best friend, Jenna. Now, Jenna and I never really got along. She was always the type to get in Laura's ear, telling her what to do, stirring the pot, you know? So when I saw her name pop up on my phone, I knew it wasn't going to be good. I opened the message, and sure enough, it's a novel. Jenna goes on and on about how Laura is devastated, how I broke her heart by not fighting for the relationship, and how I should have tried harder to make things work. She even said something like, "You're supposed to be a team, and you just gave up on her." I was so angry I could barely even respond. But I did. I texted her back and kept it short and simple. Laura broke up with me. She's the one who wanted out. I'm not going to beg someone to stay when they don't want to. Of course, Jenna didn't leave it at that. She kept texting, trying to guilt-trip me, saying how Laura was hurting and needed time, and maybe if I reached out, things could be different. But I wasn't having it. I told her straight up, we're done. It's over. Let it go. That was the last time I heard from her, for a while anyway. Then one day, I'm at the restaurant, just trying to get through the dinner rush, when my mom comes over to me with this look on her face. You know that look moms give you when they've got something to say but they're trying to figure out how to say it? Yeah, it was one of those. She pulls me aside and says, "Ethan, I talked to Laura today." I just stared at her like, why? My mom goes, "Well, she called me, said she wanted to apologize for how things ended, and just wanted to check in." Now, I don't know about you, but when your ex calls your mom to check in, that's a major red flag. I told my mom, I don't care if she's sorry or not, we're done. There's no reason for her to be calling you. My mom sighed and said, I know, but she seemed really upset. She said she feels like you hate her now, and she didn't want things to end this way. Here we go again. I had to explain to my mom the whole situation again, how Laura was the one who called it off, how she's been telling people I kicked her out, and how I just want to move on. I could tell my mom felt torn, but she finally got it. She agreed to not get involved anymore. But honestly, it was frustrating that I even had to have that conversation. After that, things started to calm down. For real. I didn't hear from Jenna. Laura stopped calling my mom, and I finally started to feel like I could move on. I even started hanging out with my friends again, going out for drinks after work, just trying to get back to some sense of normalcy. But just when I thought everything was finally settling down, something else happened. One night, I was at the bar with a couple of buddies when one of them, Mark, pulled me aside and said, "Hey man, you're not going to like this, but I saw Laura the other day with some guy." Now, I'll be real with you. I wasn't expecting to feel anything when he said that, but for some reason, it hit me. Like I knew we were done, but hearing that she'd moved on already? That was rough. I asked Mark, who was he? He said he didn't know, but they looked pretty close. That was all I needed to hear. The next few days were weird. I didn't text Laura or anything, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not because I wanted her back, but because it felt like this chapter of my life was really, truly over now. She was moving on, and I guess that meant I had to as well. Looking back, I realize now that Laura probably checked out long before we even broke up. Maybe that's why it all felt so sudden when it happened, because for her, it wasn't sudden. She'd been planning it, thinking about it, and by the time she ended it, she was already halfway out the door. It took me a while to accept that. It's hard to admit that someone you cared about stopped caring way before you did. But you know what? In the end, it's for the best. We weren't right for each other, and trying to force it would have just made things worse. Now, I'm focused on myself. I'm not looking for a relationship anytime soon, and I'm definitely not in any rush to jump back into the dating pool. I'm just trying to enjoy the little things again, hanging out with friends, focusing on work, and getting my life back to where I want it to be. And as for Laura, I wish her the best, I really do. But I'm done with the guilt trips, the manipulation, and the drama. I'm moving on. Update 3. So here we are months later, and I'm finally feeling like I can breathe again. It's been a hell of a ride, and honestly, I'm just glad it's over. But just when I thought everything was behind me, I got hit with one last curve. Surprise. Yeah, because of course something else had to happen, right? So here's what went down. I was at work one day, just doing my thing at the restaurant, when one of our regulars, Tom, comes in. Now, Tom's an older guy, been coming to the restaurant for years, real friendly with my family, always chatting with my parents whenever he's in. But this time he's got this weird look on his face. He pulls me aside and says, "Hey Ethan, I saw Laura the other night." At this point, I'm thinking, all right, whatever, people see Laura all the time. What's new? But then he drops this little nugget. "She was with your cousin Chris." I swear, my brain short-circuited for a second. I'm like, wait, what? Chris? No way. I mean, Chris and I are family. We grew up together. There's no way he'd be hanging out with my ex-fiancée, right? But Tom was dead serious. He goes, "Yeah, man, they were at that new bar downtown. Seemed real close, if you know what I mean." I didn't know what to say. Part of me didn't believe it, but another part of me was like, well, this is Laura we're talking about. So who knows? I just kind of laughed it off and told Tom I'd check it out later. But inside, I was boiling. I had no idea what to think. Why would Chris, of all people, be hanging out with Laura? And why didn't anyone tell me? So naturally, I did what any guy would do. I went straight to the source. I texted Chris that night, asked him what was up. I didn't want to accuse him of anything outright, so I kept it casual, like, "Hey man, heard you were out with Laura the other night. What's going on there?" It took him a while to respond, and when he did, the response was, "Well, let's just say it wasn't what I was expecting." He goes, "Yeah, we've been hanging out a bit. I didn't want to tell you because I knew it would be awkward." Awkward? Awkward doesn't even begin to cover it. My cousin, my flesh and blood, was hanging out with my ex-fiancée behind my back, and he thought it was just a little awkward? I was pissed, like beyond pissed. I shot back, "Dude, what the hell? You couldn't give me a heads up?" He tried to play it off, saying it wasn't a big deal and that they were just friends. Nothing serious, but come on. We all know what just friends means, especially when it's between an ex and your cousin. I wasn't buying it, and I told him straight up that I felt betrayed. He started backpedaling, saying he didn't mean for it to happen, that they just bumped into each other one night, and things kind of escalated from there. Apparently, they'd been talking for a few weeks now. Weeks. I had to sit with that for a while. I mean, how do you even process something like that? It wasn't just about Laura anymore. It was about family. Someone I trusted, someone I grew up with, decided it was cool to start hanging out with my ex like nothing was wrong. And honestly, it hurt more than I thought it would. A few days later, I got a text from Laura herself. She didn't even try to ease into it, just hit me with, "Hey, I heard you're upset about me and Chris. Can we talk?" I didn't want to talk to her. I didn't want to hear her excuses or explanations or whatever she was about to throw at me. But at the same time, I needed closure. I needed to know why she thought this was okay. So, against my better judgment, I agreed to meet up. We met at this coffee shop we used to go to when we were still together. Bad idea, by the way. Too many memories. Anyway, she sits down and immediately launches into this whole spiel about how she didn't mean to hurt me, how she and Chris just clicked, and that she didn't want things to get weird between us. I sat there trying to keep my cool, but honestly, I just wanted to walk out. I told her, "It's not about you guys clicking, it's about respect. You ended things with me, and now you're hanging out with my cousin. You didn't think that might be a problem?" She gave me some crap about how she didn't plan for this to happen, that it just did, and that she didn't want to hurt me. But I wasn't buying it. I told her straight up, "You made your choice. You don't get to walk back into my life and act like everything's cool now." The conversation didn't go anywhere. She tried to justify it. I wasn't having it, and we both walked away more frustrated than before. I didn't feel any better, but at least I got to say my piece. After that, I blocked her number. I didn't want to deal with her anymore. As for Chris, we had it out too. He called me a few days later, trying to clear the air. I let him talk, but I didn't hold back. I told him he broke my trust, and that's not something you just bounce back from. He apologized, said he didn't mean for things to get messy, but I wasn't ready to forgive him. Family or not, there's a line you don't cross, and he crossed it. Since then, I've been keeping my distance from both of them. Chris still tries to text me now and then, but I haven't responded. Maybe one day I'll get over it, but right now I need space. As for Laura, she's out of my life for good. I don't know if she's still with Chris, and honestly, I don't care. They can do whatever they want. I'm done. Looking back, this whole situation taught me a lot. Not just about relationships, but about people in general. You think you know someone, you think you can trust them, and then they go and do something like this. It messes with your head. But at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself. You can't control what other people do, but you can control how you respond to it. And right now, my response is to walk away. I've got my own life to live, my own goals to chase, and I'm not letting this drama drag me down anymore.